there are great opportunities. So on this panel, we have colleagues who are investing, who are involved in those 4 sectors that we had mentioned earlier. So the ATMs, as they call them. But there are also enablers. I think in the morning, Governor, you did not talk about the enablers. While we have the ATMs, those are sectors. But we also have the enablers that will power our 10-fold growth strategy, including infrastructure, security, and other sectors of the economy. So for real jobs, certainly the 4, but our key enablers are still open for investment. So I want to start.
My name is Engineer Elias Mugisha. I'm a private secretary to His Excellency the President on matters of infrastructure and public works. Why am I here?
Oh, yes.
Yes, I am here I believe this forum is the best place to support Uganda in bridging the deficit gap in infrastructure development. According to World Bank, we have a deficit gap of we need to spend about $1.4 billion every year for the next 10 years to be able to bridge this deficit gap. And we believe that the ECAs, the export credit agencies like UKEF, and the investors, the contractors in the UK would help us in bridging this gap. So why I'm here is to share my experience. In addition to that, I sit on the steering committee that supervises Karuma and Isimba. These are the 2 biggest hydropower dams in the country. At the same time, I advise the board chair of National Planning Authority in consolidating planning, especially infrastructure planning. Initially, we've been planning in silos, according to every different ministry, MDAs. So I'm bringing my experience and expertise in consolidating infrastructure to avoid the silo planning, but at the same time to promote infrastructure development in the country. Yes, so infrastructure cross-cuts almost every sector here. Let it be tourism, you need roads, you need, if you talk about industrialization, you need the cost of doing business. If you look at the cost of, I saw my Honorable Minister here for Trade, every consumable, 60% of the cost is brought up by transport and energy. So if you're consuming a soda, just know that 60% of the cost is the transport and energy costs are embedded in that. So if we bring down the cost of doing business in Uganda, then we shall promote industrialization. If you talk about housing, I saw a couple of people in the housing. Yes, so housing brings down the cost of even infrastructure. It becomes so hard to provide power if all houses are scattered. If it's a more planned and gazetted area, if you've been here to a number of neighborhoods in the UK, you'll notice it's easier, first of all, to man security. You just need one person at the gate. If I go to some neighborhoods in Uganda, each household needs a security guard. So not only it cross-cuts across tourism, but also when you mention about issues of the cost of doing business, you will find that my Honorable Minister for Energy has been talking about the interventions that government is putting in, let it be the oil and gas, the last mile in electricity. All these cross-cut in public sector infrastructure. So I'm here to share my experience, but also get some of the challenges that the contractors and investors are facing in appraising their projects. That's why I'm here. Thank you. And I just wanted to give assurance to the ECAs, the investors in this room, that there is goodwill. The President is very deliberate in promoting infrastructure in the country. If you see our budget, I think we service our debt loan. Our debt, a third of our budget is spent on servicing our debt. And again, now that I saw Internal Affairs here, I want to thank them in terms of, because Uganda is largely an informal economy. It's a cash economy. So when it comes, I've been meeting a number of our investors asking me, do you have projects where feasibility studies are ready? We can't do feasibility studies that are very precise because it's largely an informal economy. So this is why they are rolling IDs, they are rolling so that they sync these added features in the national IDs and passports are going to help us to know. I'll just give you an example when we're doing getting data on the standard gauge railway. The Kenya Port Authority data was different from URIA. So how do we formalize our economy so that it is easy to prepare feasibility studies for the investors? Secondly, I want to supplement on what Afandena Kalima was saying is that they've even formed an investment protection unit. This is the goodwill that government is willing to protect the investors, especially in the infrastructure sector. Then I've also been hearing some challenges from some of the contractors here, what we call the Public Investment Management System. This is the PIMS. The PIMS has been taking a duration for you to close a project, to appraise a project, from inception to securing a project code. It has been taking us 700 days. Now, Ministry of Finance is trying to reduce this period to almost a year. So if you come to Uganda, in 1 year you should be able to do financial closure, be able to submit and secure a code, because whatever project you're going to do, you will still need counterpart funding from Uganda. So for you, government only spends through projects. You need to secure a project code. For you to secure a project code, you need to go through this system, which is the Public Investment Management System. This is a system that was put there with 4 gates to screen projects that are viable. Now, how do projects be viable? They can't be viable unless you have the statistics.
I'm stopping you there.
Yes, I'm just closing. So, in other words, to conclude is that there is goodwill. The President has been very, very deliberate in promoting, especially promoting public sector infrastructure. So, there is a disconnect between the private sector. So, we are here as a unit to make sure that we bridge that disconnect between the private sector and the government to be able to address the issue of public sector infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one question. My name is Edward Katende. I am an Executive Director of Uganda Development Forum. I want to congratulate my brother Willie for this far he has come. We started the conversion when I worked here in London as an insolvency practitioner, but working with him, we came to meeting like this. Opportunities back in Uganda were presented to us. I just went to test opportunities and I stayed there. I left what people call the big monies in London, went to Uganda where actually than what I was making here in London. So for those who are still in London, it is great, keep working. For those who want to come back, don't fear to make the leap. To join us. Our economy, like they are presented, is growing, expected to grow 10 times between now and 2040. There are great opportunities. So on this panel, we have colleagues who are investing, who are involved in those 4 sectors that we had mentioned earlier. So the ATMs, as they call them. But they are also enablers. I think in the morning, Governor, you did not talk about the enablers. While we have the ATMs, those are sectors. But we also have the enablers that will power our 10-fold growth strategy, including infrastructure, security, and other sectors of the economy. So for real jobs, certainly the 4, but our key enablers are still open for investment. What are the opportunities that you see in your daily work that you can tell the investors in this room to come and join you?
Thank you. I'll try and take the 3 minutes. Gridworks was set up to invest in transmission and distribution in Africa because there was a recognition of the bottlenecks in electricity transmission and the distribution. Looking at the continent, the market that Gridworks chose as its first and probably most important market was Uganda. And there's a reason for that. The reason we selected Uganda is because the regulation, the laws in the electricity sector were very well developed. And the country had experience in dealing with private sector investment and managing that investment in a way that allowed for a private developer, for the private investors to actually do a good job and make money while develop the country. So Gridworks selected Uganda as its first and to date most important country to invest in. We expect over the next maybe 3-4 years to invest about $500 million in the electricity transmission sector. We also have interest in investing further within the different subsectors in electricity, that's within distribution as well. We see that Uganda, as I already said, the structure of the sector promotes private sector investment, and we encourage the government, and as I said earlier, we thank the Ministry of Energy and other supportive ministries around it to continue in that trajectory to ensure that we continue attracting the kind of investment that is required to develop infrastructure. What do I see as opportunities in electricity and wider infrastructure? One is on the independent power transmission. That's the backlog for electricity transmission in Uganda is about $3 billion of investment required to maintain the state of development, and that means government alone cannot invest in all the infrastructure required for just transmission. That needs to come from somewhere. Companies like us are ready to come in and invest, but there will be a need for even more companies to invest in electricity transmission. The other space, which I know the government has looked at quite a lot, has been in the diversification of power generation, including geothermal, wind, nuclear, as we see it already going in that direction. And those are areas where potential investors can look at. What I would see as I end is that there is a perception, maybe a perception that investing in markets like Uganda, because we are asked this question, why didn't you go to, when a company is thinking about investment in Africa, you always think about South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, or Egypt as your base for investment. And so there is a perception that those are the areas where there is opportunity to invest. But when you go below the surface, you realize that markets like Uganda are actually very interesting and very good for investment. And I would encourage the government representatives who are here, as well as ourselves, companies that are already investing in Uganda, to continue to encourage those with deep pockets to be able to invest, because that's what infrastructure requires. Thank you.